Could tell people are bothered. Everyone's gone quiet in the Discord group. There's 360 people there this morning. That is completely dead. That's because the bubbles are like this on the weekly, and everybody thinks that the crypto market is over this cycle. Even James Wynn, he's saying, I hope you all took profits. I did. Perp money was play money, just a market employ. Crypto is 5D chess, and you guys are playing 2D. Time to sail around the Med on a yacht for a couple of months until Q4, until then, bon voyage. So is James Wynn right? Is the cycle over? Because he's showing you the cycle and what he thinks of the cycle. We've got our version of the cycle, which doesn't align with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the macro as far as crypto is concerned. We'll be looking at Bitcoin. We'll be looking at Ethereum. We're looking at the dominance. We're looking at total three. We're looking at the strength of the dollar. And then we're going to analyze to find out exactly what's the probabilities that this market cycle is actually finished. We're going to start with Bitcoin, currently trading at 113,910. You can see one thing with Bitcoin, it's just dropped from its bull flag. It's retesting the area to try and get back in. And this is on the daily chart. So by the end of the day, if we get any kind of candle that pushes back into this channel, then that's going to be bullish. Once we get a break and a close of 115,401, which coincides with this previous move here, that means that momentum is starting to shift towards the bulls. So we've got a couple of little key barriers to happen in the next couple of days that we're waiting for on Bitcoin. But ultimately, when you zoom out, we're making higher lows, we're making higher highs. The trend is intact until the trend is broken. When is the trend broken? When we take out this lower high here, 98,182. So as far as James Wynn's concerned, he's saying that the market's finished. Are we down here? Have we taken out the previous higher low? We haven't. Until we've taken out the previous higher low, the trend's intact. We've even still got wiggle room to come back down. We've still got wiggle room to come all the way back down here. And then we still remain bullish. We could still 10% on Bitcoin and still remain bullish. So the next thing we're going to do is bring up the indicators, because I want to see if James Wynn's right and what's behind his thesis as to whether the crypto cycle is actually finished, because I don't know where he's getting his analysis from, because this trend looks intact to me as far as Bitcoin's concerned. Yes, we've had the bleed on altcoins. Yes, altcoins are being hammered, but let's look at the bigger picture. So firstly, what we want to know, are the indicators overbought, oversold? We've come back into oversold territory whilst we're maintaining a higher low structure. That is bullish. So we're coming to oversold. What we're waiting for is the stochastic to start pushing up, and for us to start regaining these key levels back as the stochastic pushes up into an overbought position. Now, how can you monitor this? You want to be looking for this to come into overbought. As it's coming into overbought, ideally, you want to be taking out these highs. So if we come into overbought, start taking out these highs, that's signaling a shift and another move up for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to slow down, guys. Bitcoin's had its move. Bitcoin's been through its cycle, and that's why you can see the shift between Bitcoin into Ethereum. That's what we're looking at next. You can see Ethereum's running. Ethereum's fallen out of a bullish pattern here, and Ethereum's done something similar that Bitcoin's done. It's dropped and it's trying to regain this key level. That key level is $3,550. Once we break and take out 3,946, we told you all-time high is on the way for Ethereum. But the next thing we look at is dominance. So if Bitcoin is starting to outperform during the crypto market, then you see dominance pushing up. And we had this big spike to the downside in dominance, and Bitcoin's tried and it's tried to outperform altcoins collectively. And guess what? It's struggling. We're getting a double top here, and that's signaling a move to the downside. So if we get a rejection, and the thing that I'm looking for here is a 3-bar reversal, which is candle to the upside into resistance, a doji candle, which we've got now. What's a doji candle? That's an indecision candle. At some point, the bulls have been all the way to the top of this range. At some point, the bears have been all the way to the bottom of this range. And we're currently traded in the middle. That's indecision. So the candle that we're looking for tomorrow, guys, is this. A lower low, lower close candle. A lower low, lower close candle does one thing. It emphasizes that you've taken out the previous extreme low, guys. That's the wick of the previous candle. That's the doji. You've taken that out, and that's showing that the bears have got control. Once you get that, and the bears have got control, what you'll get is a likely further move to the downside. Is that a good thing? Do we want moves to the downside on Bitcoin dominance? That's exactly what we want. We want the rotation to happen. We've already started seeing it between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you can check here. We've been monitoring this for a long time now. This is where Ethereum went home. This is where Ethereum bottomed. This is where Ethereum bottomed against its Bitcoin pair. And then we put in this bull flag. We dropped from the bull flag, and then we put another move to the upside. So remember, guys, Bitcoin season, Ethereum season. We're waiting for Ethereum season. Look how far down we are. Look how much room we've got just to get to this previous resistance point here. So that's looking rosy. Ethereum is still outperforming Bitcoin. The risk curve is going from Bitcoin to Ethereum. We know that. You can see Ethereum's holding up well, Bitcoin's holding up well. Bitcoin dominance is starting to double top, and we're waiting for a reversal. Then we look at the dollar. So the strength of the dollar, guys, you can see we've got this big structure here. We've fallen through this structure. We've put in a lower low, and now we're testing a lower high. So as long as we maintain this lower high structure, expect another further move to the downside for the dollar. That's weak. It's at resistance. Let's check the stochastic. Overbought, overbought, resistance. Expect another move to the downside. Another move to the downside. People are spending their USDT. People are buying altcoins. Whilst this is happening, people are scared. Markets are going down. People are going back into dollars, waiting for the next move. So it all paints one picture, guys. It all paints a picture. We'll look at the S&P next. S&P, everybody's frightened. S&P, still putting in new all-time highs. What's it doing? It's trying to retest this previous area of resistance, all of this time, and it wants to hold that. What does it want to do? Hold it as support. So we're coming down and expect to hold this as support. You've got the 50 period moving average to fall back on. That's going to be support. That is double confluence. So the S&P is still putting in new highs just because it's pulling back, and it's pulled back a whopping from its high here, 3.23% to the downside. That's creating panic. That's creating fear further down the risk curve. So the next thing we're going to look at is total 3. And you can see total 3, as we started pushing up towards highs, we were actually at one point 4.31%, which is 47 billion away from all-time highs. We've actually pulled back 19.23%, which is 183 billion to all-time highs. Why is the total 3 relevant? Anyone that's watched this channel for a while now know and understand that once I get a break, once I get a close of this previous all-time high of total 3, that is my Altseason 2025 indicator to confirm that that's my time to scale out of the market. So we're about 20% of the way there now. Next thing we can do is look at the Russell 2000. So this is like total 3. This is like high risk altcoins within the stock market. And it's a good indication to look at against the total 3 and against the others chart. And you can see when you look at the S&P all-time highs, pulling back, trying to regain that previous resistance as support. Total 3 just breached its 78.6% retracement. So whereas the S&P is doing this, new highs, pulling back, testing this previous area of support before another move to the upside. Why do you think that this hasn't done it? Why do you think that total 3 hasn't done it? Why do you think that the Russell 2000 hasn't done it? Guys, it is because it is higher risk, and we're going through the risk curve. Don't forget, we've come from quantitative tightening, and then we're going into quantitative easing. So people hold things that are least risky in times of quantitative tightening. Guys, they hold things that are least risky. When we're in quantitative easing, when we're in a time of stimulus, people go through the risk curve and further down the risk curve, and then you get the retail degens that come in. So this is showing that we're gaining strength. We're gaining strength on the Russell 2000. We haven't come back and tested its support. You could do the same with Bitcoin, look. So Bitcoin's done exactly the same as the S&P. It's putting new highs. It's coming back down, testing this level of support. So the S&P is the least risky indices within the whole of the stock market. Bitcoin is the least risk crypto within the whole of the crypto market. Bitcoin's putting new highs. It's coming back. It's testing it as support. S&P's putting new highs. It's coming back. It's testing its support. Total 3 is completely lagging. Russell 2000 is completely lagging. Guys, it all goes hand in hand together. So we might see a little bit more downside. We could potentially see a bit more downside because you look at Bitcoin, you can see we've still got a bit of wiggle room. We can still come down all the way down here and the trend be intact. We can still drop another 10% and the trend still be completely intact before another move to the upside. It's how long is that going to take to pull back? So we need to understand and we need to look at these signals. And I'm going to be monitoring these with you guys over the next couple of days. Where you're going to find it in the Discord, how much the Discord group costs, guys. It is completely free. So get yourself in there. This is where we talk crypto. This is where we talk life. And this is where we make new friends. Leave the comment or the description in the comment below, guys. You take care of yourself. If you did find this useful, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Do you think James wins, right? Or do you think we're just waiting for a healthy pullback before we get another leg to the upside? Let me know in the comments what you think. See you in the next one.